ورسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما أرسلناك إلا كافة للناس بشيرا ونذيرا ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. قل لكم ميعاد يوم لا تستأخرون عنه ساعة ولا يستقدمون. وقال الذين كفروا لن نؤمن بهذا القرآن ولا بالذي بين يديه ولو ترى إذ الظالمون موقوفون عند ربهم يرجع بعضهم إلى بعض القول يقول الذين استضعفوا للذين استكبروا لولا أنتم لكنا مؤمنين. قال الذين استكبروا للذين استضعفوا نحن صددناكم عن الهدى بعد إذ جاءكم بل كنتم مجرمين. وقال الذين استضعفوا للذين استكبروا بل مكر الليل والنهار تأمروننا أن نكفر بالله ونجعل له أندادا وسروا الندامة لما رأوا العذاب وجعلنا الأغلال في أعناق الذين كفروا هل يجزون إلا ما كانوا يعملون. Respectful friends, in the verses recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues with mentioning with regards to disbelievers, those who rejected the concept of the Sa'a, the hereafter. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in between mentions one of the virtues of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah ta'ala says that we have sent you, or وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ, that we have not sent you but as only. Kafatan means sufficient. لِلنَّاسِ, for mankind. بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا, as a carrier of good news and warner. So in other words, Allah says that we have sent you to the whole of mankind only as a carrier of good news and a warner. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, however most people do not know. So one of the virtues of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam is that Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam's nabuwat is kafatan linnas. It isn't just confined to the Arabs, not just confined to a certain location or a certain race of people, but it is kafatan linnas, for the entire mankind. In a hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam mentions, in Sahih hadith, when Nabi Kareem sallallahu mentions that utitu khamsan, that I have been granted 5 things which those before me have not been granted. And those before me refer towards the other Anbiya alayhim salatu salam. These 5 things Nabi Kareem mentioned. One is Nusirtu bi rabati masirata shahri, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has aided me with fear of a distance of a journey, of a month's journey. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created such awe in the name of Nabi Kareem, in the existence, in the character of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, that people far away from him as well. One is where a person comes in, is awe-stricken when they come into the gathering of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this is even those who are so far away, a month's journey from Madinatul Munawwara. And it's not confined to just a month's journey, referring here to a far distance, that even they have fear of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they have become awe-stricken by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam alone. And it is for this reason that so many emperors would become so fearful of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam on just hearing the name of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is an awe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places in a believer, and especially when a believer is a true believer, then there is something unique in the heart of that believer which others do not have, where people become awe-stricken by them. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala on one occasion was walking, and while he was walking, all of a sudden he just turned round. And when he turned round and he gazed upon the Sahaba, those who saw him at that time were so awe-stricken that they fell on their knees. And these were the Sahaba Kiram radiallahu ta'ala, never mind the fear that he would strike in the hearts of those who did not have Iman. So this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this type of awe which is specific with Nabi Kareem sallallahu wa ta'ala. The second Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions is that وَجُعِلَتِ لِلْأَرْضِ طَهُورًا مَسْجِدًا وَطُهُورًا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the entire land as a masjid, pure and masjid. This is a speciality of this ummah. فَيُمَا رَجُلٌ أَدْرَكْتُ الصَّلَاةَ فَصَلِّ بِهَا. Nabi Kareem mentioned that whoever of you finds the time of salah, meaning that whilst he is traveling or wherever he is, and the time of salah sets in, then he should perform his salah. There is no need for him that now he needs to go and find and look for a masjid. And if he does not find a masjid, yes, if there are masjids and you can get to a masjid, then get to the masjid, of course. But it isn't that if there is no masjid, you cannot perform your salah. So Nabi Kareem mentions that wherever you are, the time of salat comes, it is pure, the land is pure, as long as there is no apparent signs of impurity, and a person should then perform their salah. So even if a person does not have a mat, a person does not have a musalla, even then a person can still perform salah without it. If a person, when the time of salat comes, which also indicates towards the importance of salat, that because salat is so important, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it easy for us as well, that wherever the time of salat is, you can perform your salah. And then Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that the third is وَهُلَّةِ الْغَنَائِمِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the spoils of war halal for this ummah. For the previous ummah, it was not halal at all. They would have to gather it, and a fire would descend from the heavens, and that would burn the spoils of war, which would be a sign of their war being accepted by Allah Ta'ala. And in another riwayat, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that Allah Ta'ala then saw the weakness of this ummah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then made the spoils of war halal for this ummah. So this is the third thing that Nabi Kareem mentioned, which is specific with regards to this ummah. And then Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions وَأُوتِيتُ شَفَاعَةً, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have been granted the shafa'a, the intercession, the major intercession which was mentioned in last week's tafsir. And the the fifth that Nabi Kareem mentions, which is related to this verse, is that Nabi Kareem mentioned that other Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam was sent ila qawmihi ammatan wa bu'ithtu ila qawmihi khassatan ammatan, that the other Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam was sent to people in nation khassatan, to specifically just certain nations, and wa bu'ithtu ila qawmihi ammatan, and that I have been sent ila nas, to people ammatan, generally, meaning that I have been sent to mankind. And the previous Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam was sent to specific people alone. So then the nubuwwat was restricted, and their mission of prophethood was only to those people who were around and or to whoever they were sent to. And this is what Allah Ta'ala says that وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ, that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala sent Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to Nas, meaning mankind. So Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's Nabuwwat was not just to the Arabs, for whole of mankind. It wasn't just to whilst he was alive, but it is till the day of Qiyamah. And to all the people throughout the world. So in other words, a Hindustani, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, a Chinese, an Australian, an American, a British, a European, whoever, it doesn't matter who you are, any non-Arab, and every non-Arab, are all from the ummah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions elsewhere that I have been sent to all black and white. To all black and white or white and red, meaning to all colors, referring towards Arab and non-Arab. That it doesn't matter what nation they are, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam's Nabuwwat is universal. And when Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam's Nabuwwat is universal, it shows us that the Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam is universal as well. That we cannot say that the Sunnah only applies in certain customs or certain eras, and it only applies in certain parts of the world. Other parts of the world you cannot follow the Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. No. The Sunnah, by Sunnah we mean the teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. That the teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu sallam, because Nabi Kareem sallallahu sallam was sent as a universal, his teachings are universal as well, which means that they are applicable throughout the world. They are applicable throughout the world. And it is for this that we witness it ourselves, that when Muslims gather somewhere, whether it is for Hajj or any other gathering for that matter, there will be Muslims from all parts of the world. But the thing that unites them all is the Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The kalima is what unites everybody, but you do not see the kalima. But you see in the appearances, you see in their characters, you see in their actions, in their deeds, what we see. The Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see the Seerah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is what unites. You will find somebody, again a Hindustani for example, or you see a Japani, or you'll find somebody of whatever part of the world. They're all wearing the Sunnah, dressed in a Sunnah manner. They're all dressed in a similar manner. But they all have different structures, different complexions and different languages and that. But there is something that bonds, there's something that is so similar. Women as well, from various parts of the world, but they all covered in such a manner that you won't even realize that they're from various parts of the world. This is because this is the uniqueness of the Nabuwwat of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, and that is something that we find and is manifested in the ummah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. That this ummah is a universal ummah. That when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam's Nabuwwat is universal, which means and makes this ummah universal as well. So this ummah being universal means that the ummah is what it is one. Ummatun wahida. We are just one ummah. And the qualities of one ummah or the characteristics of one ummah is that there is unity. And as in the hadith Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, that the ummah is like what? Kalbunyan. Yashuddu ba'dahu ba'da. It is like one wall, one building. How bricks interlock within one another and support one another. This is the characteristics of this ummah. This is what bonds this ummah. And that is when a Muslim, he doesn't look at color, creed or race at all, because he is from the ummah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam's Nabuwwat was universal, then a Muslim, he sees everybody as one as well. Unfortunately, we have moved away from this, where if it is an Arab, then the Arab will only regard other Arab Muslims and will show disregard towards non-Arab Muslims. And others who are non-Arabs, for instance, they will have love and affection as well for who? For their own kind. For their own kind. And when they look at other people, they look at them as different people, different nationalities. They will not look at them as being from the ummah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. So they will look at them as being a European, they'll look at them as being an Asian or as an African or as a South Asian. They look at them in that manner rather than looking at them as being what? As being a Muslim. And this is what the uniqueness of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And even in the seerah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam we see this, that how Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam was with all. Majority of those Sahaba around Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam were Arabs after all, because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was based there. But they were the like of Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, Sayyidina Suhaib Rumi radiallahu ta'ala, and other Sahaba Kiram radiallahu ta'ala, Salman Farsi, those who were non-Arabs, for instance. How Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam didn't treat them any differently to how he treated those who were Arabs. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam came to destroy all of those things. And a great lesson of this universal ummah, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave where at the markaz and the center of this universal ummah, which is Makkatul Mukarramah. That on the conquest of Makkah, when the time of Salah came, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed who? Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam's muazzin was Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala. And the other muazzin was Abdullah ibn Maktoum radiallahu ta'ala, who was a blind Sahabi. He was a blind Sahabi, and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not discriminate against him because he was blind. So he would also give the adhan. They were from the muazzins of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam's muazzin in Madinatul Munawwara was Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala. And on the day of the conquest of Makkah, when the time of Salat came, Nabi says nothing at that time, but no, let me leave Bilal and let me get somebody else to give the adhan. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed Sayyidina Bilal to give the adhan. And where was the adhan given as well? It was given on the rooftop of the Baytullah, rooftop of the Kaaba. And from there, from the center of the world, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave this lesson of unity. That color, creed, race, these things do not matter in Islam. Your social standings and status does not matter at all in Islam. To that extent that those around from those who were the mushrikeen who had still not come into the fold of Islam, the leaders of mushrikeen, when they saw that this honor was granted to Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, they felt, they disliked it greatly, that they wished that they were not born to see or witness such a day, wherein an Abyssinian would be granted that honor to give the call of azan from the rooftop of the Kaaba. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam gave this lesson to the ummah to come till the day of Qiyamah, that this color creed doesn't make any difference at all to an individual. But unfortunately this ummah hasn't taken that on at all. That we are still in fractions, we are still so divided, that whenever there is any universal or you find any international hardships and difficulties, then only those who have the same nationality will feel it and others will not. If something happens in India, something happens in Pakistan, then we will feel it more than if it happens in Palestine, if it happens in Turkey, if it happens in Syria, if it happens in China or somewhere else. We will regard it to be their issue, their problem, and not our problem and our issue. But this isn't the trait of this ummah. This ummah is because even now, alhamdulillah, to a great extent, the ummah realizes these things and the ummah is there to support the Muslim ummah throughout the world. But there are still so many who are still so narrow-minded with regard to this, that they will regard it to be that nation's problem and their issue, rather than it being a universal matter and a universal issue. And never mind going internationally, look at us nationally itself. Look at us nationally itself, the amount of nationalism and prejudice that we have, which we have within ourselves. And when we say within ourselves, not even just within our communities, within our streets, within our homes, but we're talking about the center of Muslims, which is the masjid. The masjid itself, which is a center point of racism, unfortunately. which is the center point of racism, the central point of prejudice, that the masjid itself is titled and named under such a banner as well, where the masjid will be named as this Pakistani masjid or Indian masjid or Bangladeshi society community or Kurdish society or Turkish society, whatever it may be. Yes, it is understandable that you may have certain people, those who are running the masjid or those who are majority in that locality, they may be Somali for instance, so the masjid will be occupied by Somalis for example, and maybe run by them as well, by them, or Bangladeshis or somebody else or the other, because they are the majority who are there. These are understandable things. But then for masjids to be restricted, and yes, we may say that no masjid is restricted, no masjid stops and prevents any other person entering into the masjid, and they ask you for your ID card, and only then you can enter into the masjid. Yes, some committee members or some chairmen, if they could do that, they would have had turnstiles. They would have had such things. But they know they can't do that. If they could, they would. And they wouldn't prevent everybody, but it would be a free entrance and a paying entrance. There would be a free entrance and there would be a pay entrance. So, like nowadays in Maktab days, when we used to go to Maktab as well, the Gujaratis used to pay 50p fees. Fees used to be 50p a week. And the non-Gujaratis, their fees would be £1 a week. So you have these type of differences. Now that isn't the case. I do not expect. There are certain things still that are still rife. Anyway, I think now it's not more in that sense, but maybe there is discrepancies when it comes to the enrollment fee or the admission fee. There is a difference in many madrasas with regards to that fee anyway. Some have to pay more than others. But yes, that was the case. That the Gujarati would pay 50p, and instead the non-Gujarati, the Pakistanis, because that's who we all mainly would be in our community anyway. So the Indians would pay 50p, and the Pakistanis would pay £1. And at that time as well, as young kids, and that we saw these things, and it was quite obvious you bring 50p, and somebody else is bringing £1 after all. And they all know, they're all your friends, your mates, so for you they're all the same. They're all the same, but already the lesson given to you at that time, you're not the same. You are privileged because you pay half price. And they have to pay double. And I guess if you went to a Pakistani madrasa and then you were Indian there, maybe they might have said, okay, look, if you're going to treat us this way, then we're going to treat you the same as well. Tit for tat. So I'm not sure whether that was the system there or not. But that's why we have visa system, isn't it? One country brings the visa system, and then they will say, okay, in return, if you want to visit us as well, and you need visas to come here as well. So anyhow, alhamdulillah, there is a great shift and a big major change from that administrative side of things. But it will take a while, and it takes time for these type of things to leave the mind of people, that never mind different nationalities itself, but you'll find within as well. You'll have it within the Gujaratis as well, a masjid which is a Surti masjid and a masjid which is a Baruchi masjid. And the Surti walks in a Baruchi masjid and all the Baruchis are looking at what's this Surti doing here. And a Baruchi enters into a Surti masjid and the Surtis are looking what's this Baruchi doing here. So, and this still exists, however. This unfortunately still exists. And that is not only but in Pakistani masjids as well. There will be people of different backgrounds there as well, different locations as well, where they will say this is Mirpuri masjid, this is Fula masjid, Gujar masjid, this is this person's masjid, that masjid and that. So there will be these type of things, and these type of things do occur as well, where it may be the case of even the imam has to be of a specific nationality and caste as well. And not any other imam from any other caste of society, these type of things. Here what I'm mentioning here is that unfortunately these type of things still exist within this ummah. Whereas Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam was sent as kafatal linnas. And then we are the followers of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. If we are going to maintain the mission of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, then we have to have the same as well within us. that when Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam's heart was open for everyone, our hearts need to be open for everyone as well. When Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not discriminate between people, then we should not discriminate within people. And this happens especially amongst the Arabs. There's the Arabs, they totally disregard and look very down at who? At non-Arabs. At non-Arabs. Which is unfortunate. And it is only recently, alhamdulillah, that when you find that international visits and that, where many, for example, ulama or the imams of the Haramain have actually visited the Indo Park. And when they have visited and they have seen our madaris, Darul Deoban has had many visits in that. It is only then that their eyes have actually awakened and they've realized that, look, we thought that we had deen. We thought that we had ilm only, but there is ilm and there is deen here as well. Because they just thought that, look, it is only us because we are Arabs, that only we are the ones who understand the Qur'an, and only we have the rights to understand deen in the Qur'an. But this opened the eyes up to the nabuwwat of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, that when Nabi Kareem sallallahu sallam was kafatan linnas, then for sure Allah ta'ala will give Hindustanis, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis and Australians and Americans and all Muslims throughout the world. Allah Ta'ala will also give them access to the sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There will be scholars and ulama from them as well, and throughout the world. This is what we find. So, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala wasallam kafatan, and kaf means sufficient as well. Sufficient linnas. And because Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa is sufficient for people, for that reason no Nabi will come after Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. This is one of the reason of kafatul linnas. If Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's was not kafatul linnas, then there would be a need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send more prophets later on, which was the case previously. When Allah Ta'ala sent Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, they were followed by another Nabi and various Nabi, and during one time itself there were many other Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam around at the same time during that era as well. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was solely Nabi Kareem. No other Nabi was present at that time, and no Nabi will come after that as well. So when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's nabuwwat is sufficient, then the ta'limat and everything is sufficient as well. And that also closes the doors of bid'ah, innovation in deen as well. That is sufficient. There is no need to bring about any changes, and neither is there any need to have a new Nabi as well. So Nabi Kareem, so we cannot even say that the teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam are outdated. For them to be kafatal linnas, they have to remain dated all the time. So that those who are now in the 21st century, and those who are in the 20th century, and those who will come in the 22nd century, or whenever in time as well. So Nabi Kareem, they would say as well that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that these teachings, the hadiths, these are outdated. We cannot implement these things, we cannot make amal upon these things. No, kafatal linnas. There is no time scale on kafatal linnas. The word linnas itself means whole of mankind. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not mentioning this with any tense here. That whether it is the past tense or whether it is referring to the future tense and not the current the current tense. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning it openly, kafatul linnas. So whilst it was sufficient for those during that time, it will be sufficient for us now, and it will be sufficient for people to come in the hereafter. It could come later on as well, meaning after us as well. And this is from the great ni'mat and bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us, that we do not have to also, and neither will we be put under that test as the previous people, nations who had to change from Christianity to Islam, for example, from Judaism to Islam, which is something very hard and difficult for people to do, who believed in one Nabi and now to then give allegiance to another Nabi. So ours has always been allegiance to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with having iman on all the other Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. But we will not need to then attach ourselves to any other Nabi later on, because our Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam is kafatal linnasi. His teachings are, and it is for this reason that throughout the world, wherever you are throughout the world, you will find people who are still following the sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, isn't it? Throughout the world you'll go, you'll find people dressed in the sunnah, eating in a sunnah manner, acting and living according to the sunnah. And this is something unique, absolute unique with this ummah alone. And people who have done, non-Muslims, who have done research on Islam, on how to remove deen and how to remove Islam from the hearts of people, in their research in this, and this is a continuous thing. The main thing that they have deduced is that as long as Muslims have attachment with Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, you cannot remove deen from them. As long as they have this attachment with Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because this is what unifies everybody. The kalim, as I mentioned, is what we believe in. But we do not act upon it or see that in general, isn't it? Because that is something you believe in the heart. But how we greet one another, how when we now do our ibadat, we all doing the ibadat in the same manner, in the same direction. Nobody is saying that, look, now I'm going to stand towards Islamabad. Nobody is going to say, now I'm going to stand towards Washington. Now I'm going to face towards London. Now I'm going to face towards this direction. Doesn't matter where you're from, what your nationality is, everybody is going to stand facing towards one direction. The way we eat, the way we interact, there's going to be so many similarities. Meaning that although customs are going to be so different, a person from a different country, their customs are going to be so different from one another, but when they become Muslims, everybody's customs become the same. Those customs are then put aside, and the preferred, the prominent custom that comes to the front is what is the custom of Islam. And the custom of Islam is the sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. This is what is so unique with regard to this the ummah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. So وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ, we have not sent you but as we have sent you to the whole of mankind as only as a bashira wa nadhira, as a carrier of good news and a warner. Carrier of good news is for who? Towards the believers, the good news of the hereafter and the benefits of bringing iman in Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Wa nadhira, and a warner to who? And a warner to those who do not accept Islam. For believers, Nabi sallallahu is not a nadhir. Nabi sallallahu is nadhir. The nadhir is for those who do not have iman. Bashir is for those who have iman, of the glad tidings of the hereafter. But وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. However, most people, meaning those who do not have iman, they do not know that you are Allah Ta'ala's true Nabi. There are those who do not know, and there are those who know but do not want to know. So there are those who do not know, and there are those who do know but do not want to know. That they know that from the teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, that's why the only thing they can then do is what? And these are signs of the truthfulness of our deen being on the haqq. That because the deen cannot be challenged academically, and when you cannot win a battle or a dialogue or an argument academically, then what happens is that a person picks up whatever means they have to do so. And that's when they do what? They turn towards insulting Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. That's the only way you can. When you cannot speak ill of a person, the only thing that you can now do is just make things up and tarnish the reputation of that individual, of the followers of that individual, of the deen and the religion, or the book of that religion. That is the only thing that they can do. We just shows that this is their desperation. And throughout the world we find, alhamdulillah, in the 21st century, of how no matter how much people want to suppress deen in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has still brought deen in Islam on the forefront. No matter what platform it may be, that they want to yuridun al-yudfu nur Allahi bi afwahihim wallahu mutimmu nurihi walau karihal kafirun. No matter how much they have tried to extinguish the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala has always brought it on the forefront. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always given Islam such honor. But it is unfortunate that we as Muslims have not realized this. It is unfortunate that we as Muslims have not realized this. And we prefer and we want to and we are choosing the back foot. Allah Ta'ala has given us the front. That Allah Ta'ala has given us that power. Allah Ta'ala has given us the strength, that honor and everything that is there. But we don't want that. Because we think the opposite. And we think that no, it is better off that we are separate from deen. We keep our deen separate from our lives. So then only we'll be granted honor and respect. But the haqiqat and reality is no. And alhamdulillah, you will find that a person who is on deen, remains on deen, yes, there's going to be trials and tribulations. Of course, why not? That is what, Jannah is not going to come so easily and so lightly for a person, but a person will also experience that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives honor and respect to a person who is upon deen. Go wherever you want in the world and people, you will find how people give you honor and respect. Why? Because you are on the path of deen. And deen itself is something which brings with it respect and honor. I read the following verses as well. I will leave it to this verse alone. That وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. The Nabuwwat was exclusive, so the verse should be left exclusive as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all love for Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, deen itself, and realize and understand that yes, our honor is in what? Our honor is in deen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.